Hey guys, Mark Robinson here, and welcome to another episode of Wealth Rewired. I'm your host, and as always, guys, if you like what we do, subscribe, click the like button, and if you've got any comments, as always, we will always answer them. Yeah. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about wealth trauma, right? What money did to you and how you recover. Because I can tell you right now, everyone carries money wounds, right? Especially high performers. Because money isn't just maths, it's emotion, it's memory, and it's meaning, right? Even wealthy people often feel fear, guilt, shame about money, right? It really does. And like I said, I've shared it a couple of times, when the first time I earned more money in a month than my mum and dad did in a year, right? And I felt guilty, I felt embarrassed, I felt shame, and all that sort of stuff. And you've got to really, control those emotions, because you don't want to hurt your family. You don't want to make them feel small. Well, I don't know, maybe you do, right? But no, like, genuinely you don't, right? And I didn't know how to deal with it right back then. Yeah. you know and even things like your childhood, the observations become your adult financial triggers. All right. The more ambitious you are, the more your money wounds get activated during growth, and you start to self-sabotage, because most people think their problem is strategy, right? But it's actually unhealed scarcity wiring, right? This is why we talk about wealth rewiring. So what are the four most common wealth traumas, right? For me, they are scarcity, shame, guilt, and unworthiness. Yeah. So scarcity, growing up hearing we can't afford that, it wires survival thinking into adulthood. And we've unpacked and covered that a number of times on the Wealth Rewired podcast, right? What about shame is the next one, right? You're feeling embarrassed about your financial situation, either too poor, too rich, or too reckless, or too prudent, right? And then your guilt, where you're feeling bad for wanting more when others have less. Yeah, feeling bad for wanting more when others feels less. You feel a bit guilty, right? Or for outgrowing your circle. Yeah, I've let go of a number of mates over the years, because they didn't want to improve themselves. And that's simple as that. Now, the biggest one for me is unworthiness, right? Believing deep down you don't deserve wealth or success. And this is one that I've taken a long time to get over, and it still creeps in from time to time. I go, how did I put myself into this position, right? I feel so lucky, and without about that, there is an element of luck into where I've become. But I've put myself in these situations. I've put myself into the right rooms. I've put myself into the right circles and all that sort of stuff. And so, at the end of the day, you build your own luck, right? And when you have a look at all, say these four traumas, right, they won't disappear, right? They just, more money won't make them disappear, right? In fact, they intensify without any healing. So how your nervous system dictates your financial decisions. And it's like, I know we keep talking about things like nervous system and, even breathing and traumas and all this sort of stuff here at Wealth Rewired. And I'm excited, guys, for early next year, right? We're going to have a bunch of guests on, that I believe have the Wealth Rewired mentality, or the strategies that they do. However, without correcting your traumas, without correcting and doing all the inner work, right, and getting your nervous system on track, etc., the strategies that we present early next year, it's not going to matter. Like, it genuinely is not going to matter, right? Because unless we get all this stuff done. Yeah. So how your nervous system dictates your financial decisions. Look, when you're stressed, you make the worst money choices, right? Because your survival brain activates. I don't know why I laughed then, but and actually, you know why I do, right? Because I know what this is like. I know what it's, quite often when you're stressed, you'll spend money you don't have, or you'll buy that thing you really don't need, right? Fight mode leads to overworking, right? Flight leads to avoiding wealth decisions. Yeah. Freeze mode stops you from investing or taking opportunities. So you have fight, flight, or freeze, right? And that happens a lot when you're trying to make these decisions under stress, right? So when you think about it, wealthy people regulate first and then they decide second. And what I mean by that is could be just a simple breath work technique, right? Just breathing in, regulating the nervous system, getting into a better mental state. And by doing that, then making your decisions, right? Because you cannot build abundance from a dysregulated state. All right, you cannot build abundance from a dysregulated state. It collapses every single time. And why you sabotage when things start going well, right? The upper limit. Oh my God, I know what this is like, right? Because why you do it is because your brain is wired for familiarity, right? Not success. So progress feels unsafe, right? When life gets good, the subconscious pulls you back to your emotional baseline. This is why some people lose money right after making it, right? You unconsciously recreate chaos because calm feels foreign. And I know exactly how this feels. All right, I remember the first time we turned over $1 million. I think we had about $1.2 million, and everything was going really well. We'd just launched this accounting practice. It was, one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing in the state at the time. And we were just kicking goals. Yeah. And look, long story short, the accountant that we hired, he was a jealous bugger, and he cost us $1 million personally to fix his mistakes. Yeah, and I look back now and go, I just feel that subconsciously we hired him, right? Didn't really, I know a lot of people go, well, Mark, how are you meant to know what he was going to do? And I get all that, right? Yeah. But I also look back and go, there were some genuine flags that, had we had known what regulating our nervous system was, knowing that we had reached our upper limit at the time, et cetera, we would have gone, yeah, nah, you know what, he's not the right person. Yeah. But I mean, everything happens for a reason, right? So I wouldn't be talking to you right now had that guy been the right accountant and what have you. We would have stuck in that old model and done things totally different. I'm not saying it would have been good or bad, yeah. So just yeah, right. So like expanding your capability to hold wealth is more important than learning how to earn it. Right. And I want you to, that's a big takeaway, guys. Expanding your capacity to hold wealth is more important than learning how to earn it. Yeah. So how do we do this, right? Here's a simple somatic process to dissolve money fear in real time, right? Because fear lives in the body, not the mind, right? Thinking about it won't fix it. So here it is, guys. Here's 5 steps. Step 1, name it. I feel financial pressure right now. Step 2, locate it. Where is it located in your body? Is it a tight chest? Is it in the stomach? Right? Is it in the throat? Yeah. Quite often when I feel a bit of pressure, it is under the throat. I don't know how to, I'm sorry, I do know how, right? But quite often I won't speak my mind because I don't want to do the conflict or add more pressure or whatever the case may be. Yeah. So quite often it's here. Step 3, breathe into it, right? Slow inhales, slow exhales. This helps soften the sensation. Step 4, release it. Imagine the fear draining out of your body. Right? Just literally imagine it. Where does it go? Release it. Right? And then step 5, rewire it. Reconnect to the future self who makes decisions confidently. And we speak about this future self a lot, guys. I've been developing this future self success bot, future self bot, because I genuinely believe the only person that can hold you accountable is going to be your future self. Yeah. And I starting to talk to myself, my future self all the time. And I got to admit, it is pretty powerful. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to releasing that early next year. Hey guys, if you liked this episode, then as always, do a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, share it, far and wide, the more people we can help, understand that, we need to rewire our wealth to get to where we want to be, the better. Yep. Again, I'm Mark Robinson. I'm your host, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Bye for now.